Yo Frame, I was in Ripstream last month and he was advocating for rage arts, and people in chat were saying that they're too long, especially DLC characters. Thoughts? I think that rage drives are sort of the perfected, actually interesting, actually well integrated version of the rage-based comeback mechanic, right? I think rage drives are excellent. Some characters have good ones, some characters have bad ones, which you kind of want because you want, characters to be good at different things. That's how they become interesting. That's how you find, the one that you want to play and be good at, and so on. Rage arts are kind of, I think they exist less as a comeback mechanic and something you can panic into, and they exist more for the purpose of creating hype trailers and advertisement for characters when they're being released and stuff like that. Which is maybe why they tend to be especially big and hype when they're on a DLC character, right? Because the trailer is always going to end with the rage art. Personally, I don't love the way they've integrated it. I don't hate them, honestly, but they're just not very interesting. And, I mean, we've talked about this a lot on the channel. It's something that I actually saw real scientific research on. This is something that people at, real universities have studied, and the thing that makes you the most frustrated and causes you to have the least fun when you're playing video games is when you're forced to watch something that you have no control over, when you're waiting. So say for example that I'm being comboed for a really long time and I can't get out of the combo, I just have to watch the whole thing and I'm stuck waiting. That's when people get really pissed. That's when the game feels the most frustrating and the least fun, right? And rage arts, especially the long ones, are exactly that. Especially if you're talking about things like Marduk, right? They might look cool when you see them the first 5 times, but then they're just this boring thing that you have to sit through, which I don't think is great. If you look at Soul Calibur 6, they had something similar. I think they were called critical edges or something in that game. But the really cool thing, I mean, you could do them several times per round, right? So they had to be, they had to think a little bit more about that whole thing. We can't have people watching cinematics for the entire round. So one thing they did in that game is they made them a lot shorter, which I think was actually quite clever. And they don't have to be really long to be interesting to look at and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't hate rage arts, but I don't love them. And I think that rage drives are much, much more interesting. The only problem I have with rage drives is that there's a category of rage drive in this game that is just too good because it does everything. And I'm talking about rage drives like the one from Oscar, for example. But there are many that fall into the same category where they are a fast launcher for massive damage if they hit. They give you a bunch of advantage in a free mix-up if they get blocked, and if you do them at the end of a combo, they give you a guaranteed follow-up hit for massive damage that actually usually gives you more damage, or almost always gives you more damage, than if you were to end that combo with a rage art. So they are sort of a little bit too multi-purpose for me. And I would love rage drives to be, a little bit more, right now, you can just, with some characters, you just do the rage drive as soon as you get access to it, because it's just almost always a good idea, and it does kind of everything for you. And I would love for them to be a little bit more interesting than that. But yeah. Rage arts, I would not advocate for them, and I don't know why Rick likes them. But he's basically working in the industry, and if you're in the industry, they serve multiple purposes outside of gameplay, so maybe that's why. But I don't know, and I don't presume to know. But no, I'm not a huge fan. I would, and here's the other thing, right, that you need to realize. If you look at the rage arts that we have in the game right now, coming up with a rage drive, or rage art, the super, let's just call it the super, these fucking names for all these characters is kind of hard, as evidenced by the fact that some of these rage arts really suck ass and are super boring, like Leo, right? Are they going to come up with completely new cinematics and new rage arts for all characters in the next game? No fucking way, which means that either we don't have rage arts or they're going to be the same, maybe slightly changed. I don't know how they're going to get around that. It's going to be kind of awkward, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Katarina, yeah, Katarina is one of the worst ones. It's really shitty, but when you do get to use it, it's like amazing. even if you play Katarina for years, it blows your mind how powerful that thing is when you get to use it, which is almost never, right? And I kind of like that about it. What I've always said about King is that I don't feel the character design of King is excellent because he's the designated grappler and he's got the best grappling, but he's kind of excellent at a lot of things. He has a really good poking and punishment and all these things. And I think a character design is more interesting when it has distinct strengths and distinct flaws. I think that's what makes it, a character design and not just a bunch of really good stuff. So I kind of like that. But yeah, Katarina's Rage Drive is interesting and cool and crap. That was a big whiff. But no, I'm not a big fan of Rage Shards, and if I had to choose, I would say remove them for the next game.
Final round.